who have been the top 5 managers in the Premier League this season. We're starting off with 5, going all the way to 1. Have to say, Nuno, Espirito, Santo in 5 seems crazy. When you look in December, January, these guys were almost in a title race. It was almost like a Leicester City season 2.0. They were absolutely fantastic, Nottingham Forest. And it's the classic thing. Would you take a season in Europe if you're a Nottingham Forest fan at the start of August or at the end of July? You would have bitten your hands off for European football, not being in a relegation battle. The fact that Nottingham Forest were punching it with the heavyweights of Premier League football for so long is still a ringing endorsement for how good Nuno has been this season. But the last few months have been really, really poor. And this isn't losing to Liverpool, losing to Arsenal. There are certain results there where you think actually Forest should be doing a little bit better. Even against Chelsea on the final day of the season, I thought they were flat. I thought they didn't control the game well enough. I thought Chelsea got through. They rode their luck a little bit. But Nottingham Forest in the last few months, even their quality on the ball hasn't been anywhere near good enough. To get into the Champions League, you have to be controlling possession. You can't just be a defensively robust unit like they have been with Milinkovic, Murillo, Matt Sells in goal. Fantastic nonetheless. But they've lost a little bit of themselves, particularly in midfield. The Leicester City draw has probably cost them to get into the Champions League. And that is one of the worst results that Nuno has probably ever had as a manager because of how poor Leicester City are. If they'd got into the Champions League, he'd probably be 2 on my list. But because it's in the Conference League, which is still a good season, first time Forest have had European football in many, many years. We're talking decades. It's fantastic nonetheless. Nuno in at 5. Leave your comments down below if that's a little bit too low. In at 4, it has to be Oliver Glasner. This is a historic season. Crystal Palace have never won a trophy in 150 years. And then you're talking about them playing Guardiola, who's got an unbelievable record at Wembley with Manchester City, of course, even when he was at Barcelona, smashed Manchester United at Wembley. And for Glasner to play 3-4-3, a dynamic, robust kind of side that keep possession in big moments. Eze, Adam Wharton, Lacroix, Mark Gahey, Munoz. It goes on and on. He's created not only a side that can get over the line in an FA Cup final, it's not scrappy. This is a beautiful Crystal Palace side. Surely their best team they've ever had. And Eze is absolutely outrageous. Glasner has managed to build a side where you can have Eze as a free floating player and it doesn't cost the side. Eze single-handedly got Crystal Palace, it felt like, in terms of his goals, to the FA Cup final. Beautiful goal against Aston Villa. And then bang, he scores an outrageous goal. It's a beautiful finish against Manchester City. Winning silverware, you're always going to rank highly in any of these kind of videos. But to do it with such confidence, with such power against Manchester City, it was outrageous. I was gutted, of course. But you still have to say fair play to Crystal Palace. They didn't park the bus. They were dynamic. And Oliver Glasner has to be one of the greatest managers in the Premier League right now. There must be some big boy clubs looking at him. I think if Bayern Munich sacked Vincent Kompany, let's just say, not saying that's going to happen. He's just won the league title. But if Bayern Munich sacked someone, if Dortmund need a manager, maybe a big club in Italy or Spain, I think Glasner's right at the top now, even in the Premier League, to get a top 6 job, and he's done very, very well with Crystal Palace. In at number 3, this is how crazy football can be in a week. So I was thinking about this list a couple of weeks ago. I have to put in Ange Postecoglou. I have to. If Unai Emery got into the Champions League, I think maybe Ange would be a little bit lower. Maybe Nuno wouldn't be in the top 5. But ultimately, Ange Postecoglou has broken the Tottenham trophyless curse. Mourinho couldn't do it. Harry Redknapp sort of didn't do it. Pochettino didn't do it. Conte didn't do it. It's absolutely outrageous. So for him to come in and win a European Cup as well, Ange Postecoglou's had a better season than Arsenal Football Club in the last 5 years. He's had a better season than Manchester City this season. He's had a better season than Chelsea Football Club, even if they win the Conference League. Tottenham are in the Champions League, and they've won a European Cup. It's outrageous. It's not the best European Cup, but it's a very, very good European trophy to pick up. It's not an ideal brand of football when they've been conceding so many goals, losing so many matches in the Premier League. But ultimately, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Winning anything at Tottenham, that is the goal. You can go on and say Pochettino should have won the Premier League or should have won the Champions League against Liverpool. That's a ceiling that's a little bit too high for Tottenham. Based on their record in the last 40, 50 years. They've never won a European Cup. They haven't won a league title since the 60s. But let's be real. Winning the Europa League, that is their level, with all due respect. And he's hit that level. He's hit his goal. Something that Conte and Mourinho couldn't do. It's absolutely outrageous. I thought the last manager was Juan Ramos, so Howe Redknapp couldn't do it either. I was debating if Howe Redknapp was the guy that won it in 2008. I think that was Juan Ramos. So it's absolutely incredible what Ange has done. He's the third best manager in the Premier League this season. Number 2, Eddie Howe. Newcastle are the Tottenham of the North. And I mean that with the greatest of respects, because you could argue in the 90s with Kevin Keegan, some of the great sides they had maybe in the early 2000s with Sir Bobby Robson, they should have picked up stuff then and they just never did. So I'm not slagging off Newcastle United, but their record of not winning anything for 75 years is absolutely outrageous for how big a club they are. Eddie Howe, even if he'd come 15th and won a League Cup, I think I'd put him above Ange Postecoglou because of how he did it against Liverpool. But the fact that he's got Newcastle United back into the Champions League, not through winning the League Cup, through incredible league form, particularly in the last 3 months, absolutely outrageous. I remember the way they ripped Chelsea, one of their Champions League rivals, a couple of weeks ago. It was incredible. Bruno, Tonali. I thought Pope's been good this season between the sticks. Botman, Shah. He's got 7, 8, 9 players operating at some of the best form we've seen in the Premier League this season. Isaac is the obvious one as well. Even Harvey Barnes in recent weeks. Eddie Howe is one of the best coaches in European football. Mark my words. He had to be the England manager, and Newcastle United are so happy he stayed, and he wasn't even offered a job with the FA. He is the second best manager in the Premier League this season, and I actually think there's an argument. It's like pound for pound. Floyd Mayweather was pound for pound a better fighter than Muhammad Ali. A lot of people would say that because he never lost a fight, etc. But obviously, if they had a fight, he wouldn't be a better fighter than Muhammad Ali because he was a lot lighter than him, if that makes sense. Pound for pound, he is a better manager than Arne Slot for what he's done. He really is. And he beat Arne Slot in a League Cup final. But my number one has to be Arne Slot. If you win the Premier League, by definition in modern football, you are competing against sides that spend billions, whether it's a nation state, whether it's a hedge fund backed club like Chelsea, Manchester United, or on the stock market. These clubs are spending billions, whether they get it right or not, to get to the summit of English football. That's why there's so much money in the Premier League. It's not to have a joke, it's not to have a laugh, it's to try and go as close to first as possible. And Liverpool have done it by spending no money. They're going to do it this summer, but ultimately spending 12 million quid on Chiesa is a bit of a gamble. It's the interest that Chelsea are probably paying on Caicedo every week. It's absolutely outrageous. And then you think, actually, Liverpool were improved. You know, Trent's form was fantastic at points this season. Van Dijk's form was incredible. Salah, probably his best season since he first came to the Premier League in terms of sheer numbers. That's down to Arne Slot. He's coached them single-handedly. He's created a possession-based Liverpool side where they control games. They're far better in the league. They're less up and down. They're less volatile. They strangle games when they need to. And they had a good run in the Champions League. Got to the League Cup final. Next season, with a deeper squad, these guys will go on to win and try and win multiple honours as well as retaining the Premier League. They're massive favourites. Even bringing Gravenberch back to the base of midfield alongside Alexis McAllister, the two best midfielders in the Premier League this season, is all down to Arne Slot. He has been an outrageously good coach. He has to win this award. The Best Manager of the Season award. Leave your comments down below. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know. Make sure you subscribe if you watch this far. And I'll see you very, very soon.